Brett Tolman, former federal prosecutor and former U.S. attorney for the state of Utah. Brett, good to have you with us. So here's what Pam Bondi said about this in a statement. Quote, medical professionals and organizations that mutilated children in the service of warped ideology will be held accountable by this Department of Justice. I mean, she seems pretty determined to stop these doctors, medical facilities from performing these gender appearance altering procedures on minors.
Well, there's no question that the intervention by DOJ is needed. These are mutilating surgeries, and oftentimes there's issues surrounding these decisions to go forward with these surgeries that are complicating the legality of them, to say the least. I think you're going to see subpoenas sent out, but the next step is going to be individuals are going to be called and they're going to be put in front of the grand jury. And people are probably asking, you know, what is the angle? Why are they pursuing it, or how are they pursuing these kinds of cases? You know, they have obligations to safeguard healthcare funding that goes to these clinics. If they're violating the law, if they're being deceptive, if they're doing this without parental permission, or if they're doing it in a state where it was illegal, even prior to when Trump came into office and outlawed them, then they have an obligation to investigate those, to safeguard those funds.
Dr. Ethan Heim is a whistleblower about gender appearance altering surgeries at the medical center in which he used to work. Here's what he said about whether or not it was still ongoing. This is just back in June.
So they were giving every indication to the public that they were shutting down this program. But I worked there, I did surgery there. I knew categorically this was untrue. They not only continued the program, but expanded it behind closed doors.
So he alleges that the hospital was lying to the public, that it was looking on the surface, at least in public, like it was abiding with, you know, whatever the laws were, but behind the scenes was actually stepping up what it was doing. So what can the DOJ do about that?
Well, I think that's the reason why you have a public announcement about these subpoenas. It's very unusual to actually, you know, issue a press release and to tell the public about subpoenas being issued. Those are typically done very quietly, discreetly, so that you're not tipping off others. I think in this instance, though, I think they want deterrence. I think they want other clinics that may be doing this, and this, you know, these clinics especially, to know they're coming after them. Hopefully they get some deterrent value out of the announcement of the subpoenas.
You know, Europe was always the leader in these gender appearance altering surgeries, and since it got a lot more data about the mental health of the individuals and this idea of once you perform a double mastectomy in a 14-year-old, that's something that's not reversible. They've gone 180 degrees in the other direction. They're also not willy-nilly prescribing these hormone blockers for young kids. But one of the things that the Justice Department is doing, and we've got up here a map, too, of countries in Europe that are restricting transgender treatment to minors. At the same time, the Justice Department is looking for access to confidential patient data to determine if any laws were broken. Are they on solid legal ground with that demand?
Well, they are. There's no question that there are now individuals that are after these surgeries that are coming forward and saying they regret it, that they were manipulated into getting the surgeries. It's not just one or two, and they're not just, you know, a few across the country. There are thousands of individuals now that are coming forward and saying, I wish I had known. I wish I hadn't have been manipulated. I wish I had never done these surgeries. Because of that, you see Europe and you see other enlightened countries that are saying, wait, we're going to put the brakes on these. That's what DOJ has to do. Find out what manipulation occurred, hold people accountable, and then, you know, request and demand of our medical professionals higher standards when it comes to dealing with children.
Yeah, when it comes to these puberty blockers and hormones, you know, they say, oh, it's a pill or it's a shot or whatever. But in some cases, they create changes that are permanent and you can't reverse them. Brett, we'll continue to watch this. Thanks for joining us on it. Really appreciate it.